Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Daily Refinement. Today, I'm going to do like an emergency session on YouTube because just from some information that Whatnot told me during a recent meeting, and just based on my own research as well, I think that only 4% of resellers are consistent. So I was looking at there's a lot of people who are talking about daily listing, list every single day, be consistent. But I mean, that is really not reality. I mean, I would say that very few people are consistent even weekly, let alone daily. A habit that you do every single day is extremely unlikely for more than 99% of people. Now, you could do a you could do a situation where you use a draft bank or scheduled listings on eBay. And in this scenario, you could be consistent 3 or 4 days a week and make enough listings for the whole week. Let's say, for example, on Saturday, you make 7 listings. You schedule them out and you can get one new listing per day. That's a consistent daily schedule. That's awesome. Um, Consistency is the key because over time, your results compound. And I can tell you now, um, I'm selling over 1,000 items a day. And when I started, I was struggling to sell 2 items a week. It just takes a long time to find everything, get everything set up. And the enemy of growing and being consistent, good morning, Kathy. The enemy of being consistent is variation. This is it. Every one of us does the same thing every day. We find things that are lower in the market and then move things that are higher in the market. And that is um, when you are trying to be consistent, the key is reduced variation. If you do something different every day, it's harder to do it every single day. So since we all do the same thing, the goal is to create a route for sourcing to get as many things as possible that are lower. I'm sorry, that are lower than the market. And the definition of entrepreneurship is just finding something of lower value and putting it into higher value. So the information I got from Whatnot is that only 4,000 people have a stream once a week. And I couldn't believe that how low that number is. Here's a platform where you could just get a good item, present it, and you can make a couple of bucks same day. There's no other form of that. You can't do that on eBay. On eBay, you couldn't get a few bucks immediately. It doesn't work that fast. You'd have to list I mean, I guess the only thing is if you had a brand new store and no items and you were listing things at like 90% off, maybe you could sell immediately. But otherwise, you don't have the reputation or the setup to really sell things that quickly. But there are hundreds of thousands of people on Whatnot, millions of people maybe, and there's only 4,000 people who consistently do one stream per week, right? And I'm trying to do 7 to 10 streams per day. So there's really nothing different from me and a beginner other than I do it more often. That's it. So yesterday I posted, and without giving people context, people don't listen for some reason. If you just put, like, for example, if I put that um I don't know, this year I've done $7 million already, and then I said be consistent, people are more likely to listen because there's like a little more proof. But just in your own lives, if you've done anything more than one time, the results are going to be a lot better. In fact, this is okay. I'm going to go off and do a tangent here that sounds kind of interesting. I'm going to get some people's feedback online and in here. Um, a lot of people say follow your passion, but I don't think they know necessarily what that means. Um, Passion means wanting to do something again. That's all passion is, right? And a lot of people are passionate about selling things, but not the thing that they're selling. I think that is so important because you start making a route, you start getting a photo station, you start getting a shipping station, you start getting everything organized. And now reselling is a lot more fun all of a sudden, even though the things that you're selling might be the same, or dare I say, might be even more boring. It's just easier. Like if you were to go to I think one of the categories that is interesting is right now I'm selling a lot of sneakers and shoes, and I'm buying them directly from the company Zappos. And the company Zappos, they sell, let me try and do the math here. Zappos revenue 2023. Last year they did $1 billion. Let's see. They did like, let's see, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight, nine. They did almost 3 million a day. Let's say the average pair of shoes is $100. Okay. They sell 27,400 shoes a day. And let me look at the return rate of 20%. Oh my God, that's so crazy. Okay. Every single day, Zappos has 5,000 returns. Okay. And that is insane. So we have a company with 5,000 returns. Now, at the end of each week, they now have, and 5,000 shoes, to give you guys context, is about one semi truck full of shoes. 200 pallets fit on a shoe, 24 pallets. That's 4,800. Maybe a couple of them are smaller. There's probably about 3% return fraud. So that means 15 people return a different pair of shoes than they received. Right? That's not that many. Actually, is that 15 people? I'm sorry, 150 people. Wow, that's a lot more. 150 people sounds like a big number, but out of 5,000 shoes, it's just like a normal amount of people who are fraudulent. Um, because it's not 2% of everyone, it's 2% of the returns, right? And only, you know, X number of people return something. Okay, wait, let me look at this question. Could there be less consistency on Whatnot streamers because they are less enthusiastic buyers on Whatnot? I don't think so. I mean, I've already helped, I don't know, 500 people do their first stream, and every single person sold one item on their first item or more, on their first show or more. It's difficult to make a lot of money on Whatnot, but it's not difficult to make a little bit of money on Whatnot. It's on eBay much more difficult to get started because you don't have any traction in the beginning and no reputation. On Whatnot, you're holding the item that people are buying, so the reputation is there. I saw somebody do 100,000 on their first stream on Whatnot. A complete professional came in. They gave away an $18,000 Rolex on their very first show. They got coaching from like 5 or 6 really, really high end Whatnot people. Their first stream, they had 700 people. They just printed money for 3 hours. First stream, right? It just depends on what your offer is. And I think the offer improves over time. Your offer is, what are you offering to the customer? If you are selling shoes, I'll give you an example. A Good morning, Albert. The I'll give you guys the best example that I can. Let's see here. One moment. I'll give this to my. Here. Can't believe how few people are consistent. So if you, let's see, if you want to do this. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. I just think that the on Whatnot, being able to actually talk to your customer is incredible. So Gabby says, I do not have access to inventory to keep consistent on Whatnot. That okay. That is a fantastic place to start. Okay, so if I were coaching Gabby, I would need to know what items are you selling and where can you find those items. Maybe Gabby can tell me in the chat what she's selling, and I can try to help you figure out how to be more consistent with inventory. Um, this is one of the hardest parts of any resale business is the consistency of inventory. And generally, the problem is people are too wide. You need to be very specific on what you look for. Let's see here. Shoes from thrifts. Okay, Gabby says that she sells shoes from thrift stores. Okay, let's go back to shoes for a moment. Um, if you are selling used shoes from the thrift, then the granddaddy factory of used shoes would be Goodwill. They get more free shoes than any other company in America, right? So, oh, actually, I know what I was gonna say. Okay, I'm buying Zappos shoes returns. A truck costs around let's call it $50,000. Okay. Now, if Ben or Vince were to get these 5,000 pairs of shoes, I 100% guarantee they would have a $40 to $60 average sale price on eBay, right? Now that's turning $50,000 into 200 or $300,000 gross. Okay. And then after fees, everything, you would have your dollar amount. This is the exact same thing as going to the thrift store and paying $10 for something to sell 30 or $40 online. That's the exact model. And if you were to go 10 into 40 or more, right, which is a good chunk of the shoes, because I'd say just right off the bat, 10% of the shoes are Hoka, On Cloud, New Balance, Nike, Sorel. These shoes, no problem. Gently used, you're going to get more than $40. Just obvious ones, right? Then there are ones that take more research and homework, like Bed Stew or like Doc Martens, um, Birkenstock. If you don't do a good job, you won't get $40. You have to really show the item well. Like a broken pair of Birkenstocks won't get $40, but a broken pair of Hokas might still get $40. It takes more knowledge, right? But if you are like a shoe expert, then there are some Crocs that you can find in the pal that will sell for $40 because you know how to make them perfect, how to clean them, which ones are limited, what sizes are better, right? All that knowledge comes in. Now, Zappos is the king of, not the king, Amazon is the king of used used shoes that are returned, right? After Amazon is Zappos. No surprise that Amazon bought Zappos. It's the same system. In the return pallet, even say Amazon on them. That's one way of acquiring shoes. If you are a stay-at-home mom, there's a lady on Whatnot. Her name is Selling Mama. She has 4 kids and she does several $1 million on Whatnot by herself, only selling shoes. But she also orders shoes from department stores when they have closeout, right? It's just the capital issue of how are you going to store 5,000 pairs of shoes, which is ridiculous. And if everyone, I hope everyone, how many people are listening here? Like 80 people? Because I'm online too. Okay. If you buy not from the department store, you're over 90% of the chance you're going to get screwed. So don't buy one pallet from somebody because what'll happen is they're going to take out all the good stuff and you're going to get used heels, Mary Jane's, sandals, event shoes. And like it's really hard to sell Nine West used if you're paying $15 a pair. You're screwed. You can maybe sometimes barely make your money back, but it's very, very difficult to actually turn a profit. Um, Go ahead, Devin. Question.
I just don't understand as a wholesaler why somebody, as hard as it is to get a customer, whatever industry you're in,
Mhm.
when they talk about, dollars spent on advertising and stuff like that, why you would risk pissing somebody off and having a one and done type of situation by
Yep.
selling somebody a pile of crap versus giving them, you know, quality stuff. Now, granted, it's not going to be, it's not going to be 100% amazing stuff. But why would you burn the bridges on a one and done customer versus having somebody's going to come back every week or every month?
I know exactly why. You ready? Variation is too hard. That's why. When you get, if you're Goodwill, right, and you get 5,000 pairs of shoes, right? What Goodwill does is they normally just throw away 90% of the shoes and then 10% of the shoes they put out on the floor. Goodwill doesn't clean shoes. They take the best
Well,
shoes that they, what?
I was going to say, well, some of them a place like Goodwill, or you're buying from a situation that is like a Ben's or a rag
Yeah,
house. You know that situation going into it, though. So that should be a common knowledge. But I'm talking about, you find a distributor on Facebook or
supplier.
someplace else like that, and they post these pictures of all this great stuff, and you realize it's nothing. Once you start realizes, that was all for show, and you're getting 90% garbage.
There's a,
It's one
okay,
thing. I guess what I'm saying, it's one thing to go and buy, know that you're buying 90% garbage versus getting stuck in 90% garbage.
that's a really good point. Because if you are buying wholesale from a supplier and they tell you you're getting great shoes, and then you get it and it's only five great shoes and 95 garbage shoes, and your expectation is that is incorrect, then you have an item not as described. And you're saying, why would a wholesaler risk item not as described by ordering? I mean, by doing that. And it's just the variation and laziness and greediness combined cause that to happen. Like if you variation is just so difficult. Now here's the thing. Let's say Goodwill only said, I'm just or Stan's Cliff, I'm gonna get to your question right after this. If Goodwill said we're only taking in adult sneakers that have half their life left or more, use your own decision making skills, right? Don't bring us shoes that are thrashed, just throw those away. If they said that, right, and Goodwill only received half used sneakers, and then they said to everyone, okay, we're going to wholesale these sneakers at $11 each, and you're going to get all of them in every condition. Then at least you know, right, Devin? You're like, okay, I'm going to get some beat up Reeboks that aren't worth anything, but I'm also going to get some on clouds that are nice. It'll all even out and be good. That's the idea of wholesale. The problem is the wholesale lot that you're buying on Facebook is super duper duper varied. And there's no way that the person doing it would be organized enough to give you a manifest on used goods. It's extremely uncommon. Getting a manifest of goods where they tell you what it is, if it's used, is almost zero. And that's what eBay is. eBay is a giant manifest of used goods, most of it, that at least people talk about on online. Really, eBay is 86% new, but the 14% of eBay that's used that everyone on YouTube talks about, everyone just lists a few items once in a while. That's most of it.
I think the biggest saving point for me is that I never had that extra, $300-400 to buy a big, pallet or whatever.
Yep.
And so by the time I did have that money coming in,
Yep.
I had seen enough horror stories about it from others that I had, educated myself to know to not mess with that kind of stuff. So I am thankful for that.
Yeah. That's the when you get a little bit of cash, so let's say Gabby's at home right now and she's a stay-at-home mom and she's like tired of thrifting and she takes a risk and spends $4 or $5,000 on one pallet and it comes and then she is disappointed and she spends the next long time getting rid of it. That happened to Tisha in the group. She's listening right now. I think she ended up getting a pallet of home of school supplies. And maybe the school supplies are okay, but they don't sell online because of the cost of shipping. And then you have to get rid of it. Tish.
That happened to me. It's embarrassing because I still have the residue still in my garage in one of the bins. It's really hard to move that kind of stuff, especially if your niche or it's not that. Because I wasn't selling school supplies and I didn't know what I was gonna get. It was just like surprise.
I know, because you don't eat unless you have the full gamut of how to like it to sell school supplies, you'd have to have there's a couple ways to sell school supplies, in my opinion. Either have a community sale and invite a whole bunch of people over, like you just put on Craigslist garage sale on Saturday. I have some closeout school supplies. You'll definitely sell a whole bunch of it because school supplies, I'll tell you straight up, most people do not want to pay for shipping. I mean, very unlikely you're going to pay shipping for school supplies because everyone today, if you guys have it 2 hours, you should go to TJ Maxx and look at how different the pricing is. I've never seen it this low. I went on Sunday for the first time in a long time to TJ Maxx. 99% of the store is under $15. And it was still not very busy. That's crazy to me. Brand new items under $15, nobody buying anything. That should tell people like, don't sell stuff that is like under $20. Really shouldn't, because it's so hard. Under $20 is still $30 with tax and shipping. It's a lot. So like that's a very, very difficult market to sell in. I couldn't believe how cheap TJ Maxx is expecting this customer to be. All the Halloween stuff was there. The Halloween stuff was 20% off. Why would the Halloween stuff be 20% off? It's peak Halloween season. Between now and the next month, shouldn't they be getting full price? It's already 20% off. We just started. It's just yesterday was like their first day. It was even remotely chilly here. Okay, so let me answer some of these questions. There's two questions. One is, where do all these sellers get all these high-end wholesale makeup? I'll answer that after this question from Stan. They have a 10,000 item online toy store. Would I go for a 10 by 15 climate controlled storage unit? Or basically they're saying 10 by 45 climate controlled or 10 by 45 non-climate controlled. Okay. It depends on the climate of where you live. If it's overly cold, I don't know if shoes get damaged, but I'm pretty sure if it's too hot, shoes or toys get really messed up. I would get climate control for toys personally. I've even had my daughter's toys kind of messed up if you leave them in the car overnight, or I mean, leave them in the car. So I would personally get climate control for most items, especially toys, especially valuable toys. So okay, where do if you're in New Jersey, probably I would get climate control because I feel like it gets hot in the summer and toys melt. And the worst is like you do everything right and they get the toy and it's melted. Okay, so Nicole's asking, where do people get high-end wholesale makeup? I know. So they get high-end wholesale makeup from there's a couple ways. You can get it from closeout. So you could get Sephora or Ulta past season. So there are brokers that handle those deals. Most of it is handled by bigger companies like B Stock in Florida. If you order directly from the company, anybody here can order from B Stock actually. You can get high-end wholesale from Bloomingdale's, Saks Fifth Avenue. That's where 99% of the high-end sellers get wholesale makeup. Go ahead, Ben. Good morning.
Question, because you were talking about Whatnot, and I've really never explored Whatnot that much. I mean, I've downloaded the app and kind of scrolled through a little bit, but that's about as far as I got. And I know you were talking about Selling Home Mom or whoever this
Selling
person was.
Mama. Yeah.
That and so my question, my thought was, because you know what my business is, obviously.
Yep.
Is the shoe sellers that are on Whatnot, is this mostly like Amazon and Zappos returns, like lightly used returns or stuff that is new in box? Is that generally what people are selling when it comes to that category?
I actually think it's the same as eBay. What happens is all of the virality and influencers, they bring in cool stuff they found at the thrift store. So like if you find a pair of I say Hoka because I think it's the easiest shoe to sell right now. You find a used Hoka at the thrift store for $20 because they're expensive at Goodwill. It's not like they're cheap. You go home, you clean it up a little bit, you go on the Whatnot, you're going to be able to get a sale. You might only get $32 for it, but you could go on the Whatnot with just one pair of shoes and say, I want $40 for it, and just hang out with people. And eventually you'll find somebody who wants it or will make you an offer. That's part of Whatnot and that's how Whatnot got started. When I was in the I'm the original women's clothing seller on Whatnot, the very first seller. I only sold thrifted goods because my cost of goods is only $1. I went to Goodwill bins or flea market, got really cheap stuff, and my average sale price per item when I first started was 7. Just bought for 1, sold for 7. But then the demand for used or likely or light used stuff is so much higher than, so okay, on the spectrum of shoes, brand new has the highest interest. 80% of people want brand new.
Yeah.
Then the lightly used returns, maybe like 50% of people want those because they're looking for a deal. Then like below that, meaning like it's been thrifted or it's been reconditioned, less people want that, but they still do want it. And the people who are new, if they're presented that, they'll definitely buy that because they want to save money.
Oh, okay. Because that was my thought, because from what I understand, I mean, I talked to a lot of different shoe sellers, and I don't really know anybody that's using Whatnot that is in a thrifted model, selling shoes. So I was like, is there a market for it? Are we missing something out, or is it just not a large enough market to commit to streaming, every day or a couple times a week or something like that?
What happens is that people sort of graduate. If you are on Whatnot for a while and you start getting some traction, then you will have the capital to buy a larger load and move a higher volume. Because, as an example, yesterday we sold 700 pairs of shoes on one stream, right? I can take a lower profit margin. That's a lot,
Yeah,
right?
because you're buying so many of them.
If you're doing the thrifted model, right? What I would do is I would preload my entire eBay inventory. Now, you can actually do this. You can download your eBay inventory into a CSV file and then re-upload it on the Whatnot, and you could just let people shop from your store. You could have a minimum price of, for example, Rinzi right now. Rinzi is a good example of what happened on Whatnot because they've gone through the whole cycle too. They started with only thrifted shoes, right? Shoes from the outlet or only shoes that they thrifted. That's it, right? And they told everybody, there's enough room for everybody. Go to the thrift store, community, not competition, right? That doesn't work though. After a certain point, there's not enough shoes in an area, and you've got to increase the radius to find more shoes. But it
Yeah.
happens to everyone, right? That's why I never sold shoes on eBay because it was hard to find. You can, it just has to be your only thing that you do, and you just slowly increase your radius. And in my opinion, if you want to do shoes in bulk on eBay or whatnot, you need a cleaning station and a high dollar start. That's I think I don't know why people on whatnot don't do cleaning and a high dollar start. It would work. You don't need to do dollar starts. You can do a higher start. Rinzi has a $39 start.
Yeah. So I mean, because that's basically what I do on eBay. Is it's a higher. It's not auctions, obviously, but it's a higher
Yeah.
dollar item that's been
Yeah.
thrifted and cleaned and all that other kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So I just didn't know if there was an opportunity for the items or the type of shoes that because I only do shoes. I don't really purchase much anything out of that. It's very niche down. So my question was just I didn't know if there was an opportunity that I'm missing out because I always hear auctions are starting at $1, and my cost of goods out of most thrift stores and flea markets is going to be around $9.
Yep.
So I didn't know if there was an opportunity
I
to
think
make
there's
money
a
there
I
starting
think
out
there's
of
a
$1.
massive opportunity for somebody to upload their inventory. I have not seen anybody do that because the problem with whatnot, I'll tell you what it is. It's not a good buying experience. It's fun. It's fun because you get to hang out with somebody, right? But my wife said, why would I want to hang out with somebody if I want to buy something? If I want to buy something, I'm going to go to eBay or Amazon, type in what I want, look for the best deal, buy it. Why would I go on
Yeah,
whatnot? Wait, right? So let
yeah,
me give you a perfect example. Um, if you put $1 Hocus as your title, you, specifically you or Vince, right? $1 Hocus, and you have a pair Or I actually think that one pair is scary. The way I sell Hokas is at least two pairs. Like I have a size 7 and a size 10. Winner gets to pick one of those. Because I'm even scared to just do one and have the price be too low. I want to give myself a good chance that I get a good price. So I always give people more selection. If you were to say, I'm going to run a $1 Hoka every 15 auctions, the rest of it though is high dollar start. And you make people look through $39 pair of Birkenstocks, $40 pair of Steve Madden crocodile shoes, whatever. You have people wait and you use that as your advertising. That there's a big opportunity for that. Nobody is doing that. If you put $1 Hoka in your title and you don't BS, you actually do that. You actually won't even lose money on it because people will wait for it and try to get it. Now, this is the problem. It's not your size. Do you know how unlikely it is that if somebody's running a Hoka that it's your size, it's probably a 10% chance, right? And they're
Yeah.
only going to run 10 in a 4 hour stream. So you literally have to spend 4 hours to buy one pair of shoes. My wife said if you anybody who's making over $70,000 a year would never shop on Whatnot because you unless it's for fun because it's there's no like it takes too long. So but everybody
Yeah,
wants a good deal.
like
Go ahead.
it's more about hanging out and camaraderie than it is about
Yes.
shopping experience. Because for me, I don't want to sit around and just watch somebody, for
Exactly.
2 hours.
That's
If
right.
if I really just want to purchase something,
That's right.
that's a lot. That's a lot of time to just spend around just looking at, somebody putting. But I mean, there's Home Shopping Network. So
Well, I
also,
actually think that it's going to change because what will happen is very, very few sellers have the capacity to upload their inventory because it's the same thing as eBay. Very difficult to upload your inventory. You've got to list it on the eBay one at a time. And people are like, oh, I don't want to list my items one at a time onto um, Whatnot. It takes too long. I'm just going to show it. Well, if that's what you're going to do, you're not going to get a lot of money. If
okay,
you
so you have to.
go ahead.
So let me understand because I'm not that familiar with Whatnot. So people can preload or upload their items and not stream, or they can not
Yeah,
upload.
you can definitely load your items into the Whatnot marketplace and never do any streaming. And when items sell, they sell. You can sell new or like used items very well on Whatnot. Used, I don't think so because there's too much competition for used. But one thing I thought was cool is that you can upload a CSV of your items. So what you can do is if you had a 1,000 item eBay store and you uploaded all of your inventory into the marketplace on Whatnot, and you did a stream and said, "Hey guys, go into the store, search your size, and I'll run it. I'll run whatever you want at 10% off of the asking price." And that actually is a better buying experience because right now it's just, do I like the host and do I want to hang out with them? But it's not, can I find something I'm looking for? And it's the only thing that Whatnot is trying to do. They're trying to make it so that when you go to Whatnot, you type in what you want and it directs you to the stream that has it. The community based part is cool. They like that, but they also want people to get what they're looking for. And if people don't upload their inventory, then they can't help the customer find it. That's what,
Okay. I see what you're saying because their
yeah,
search engine, their algorithm can't find the item because they don't know
that's
what
right.
the person that's streaming is going
That's right.
to going to show. So you're saying like on my end is to pre-upload the inventory, and then
Yeah.
as you get, I guess, traction or people interested in your items, you
Yeah.
pick those items to run in the stream.
Yeah. And eBay is an auction too. It's just a 30-day auction.
Yeah.
And the thing is for a 30-day auction, you wouldn't be lazy. You would upload photos and put a good title and good item specifics because you have the whole month to get people to try and buy it. So you would do all the work up front and try to get people to buy it. So yesterday I was looking at a paper towel holder. You put paper towels on it and you can one hand tear it off. And the paper towel holder had sold 25,000 units on Amazon. It was like $20, right? And I asked one of my Amazon friends how long it would take to make that listing, and he said This listing would cost $1,500 to get the pictures like this, the title written, the keywords written, all that stuff. It probably costs hundreds of dollars a day in ads because it's so hard to rank a paper towel holder, right? And then in order to get it to the customer at this ridiculous price of $20 free shipping, you're probably either the manufacturer or working directly with the manufacturer. There's no room here for any, you wouldn't thrift this and then sell it for $20 free shipping, right? So the longer the auction is, the more effort people put into it and the more money you can make. So you would spend a month, 2 months on this paper towel holder if you could sell 10,000 units of it. But at the thrift, normally you only have one of these items. So you don't want to put in a tremendous amount of effort. This is why sell similar is the only hack on in reselling. If you don't sell similar, you will fail because you don't remember all that work that you used to do that you did, and you have to redo it all from scratch, and that makes it really hard.
Yeah, I mean
Um,
that's something to think about. I've gone back and forth on whether or not whatnot was an opportunity for used shoe sellers because it doesn't really come up in any calls or conversations
mm-mm.
among the other shoe sellers. So yeah, it's good to get a different perspective, and maybe I have to you know kind of think about it a little bit more. The other thing is how much do I really want to be on camera and have to you know be
Yeah.
friendly. I mean, that's something you could do, but it's not necessarily my upfront personality,
So
you know.
one thing you can do
I'm
is,
more
I'll give you an
background
example.
guy.
Um,
With,
there's a brand called Archipetico. It is a Australian orthopedic brand.
yeah, I've sold them a few times.
So the shoe is pretty cool. So I bought the overstock from Australia because how most shoe brands work is you can't sell the clothes out in the same country. So Archipetico is from Australia. They didn't wholesale their stuff there because they don't want to damage the price on eBay Australia. So it came here. So I was selling them on whatnot. And then an eBay seller said, "Can I buy the stock from you? I want to sell it on eBay." And I don't sell on eBay anymore. So I said, okay. And it's really annoying when, because there's a lot of suppliers who do this. There's a lot of suppliers. So Nicole asked, where are the high-end sellers getting all the high-end wholesale from? So let's say you contacted one of these high-end sellers on whatnot and said, "Hey, SoCal Love One, will you wholesale me a bunch of high-end makeup?" And they say, "Where do you sell it?" And you say, "Whatnot." They say, "Okay," they sell you some. You're competing directly against your supplier. It's really hard. But since I don't
Yeah,
sell on eBay, I have sold lots of deals to other eBay sellers where now they figured out what to sell on whatnot because that's where a lot of the liquidation goes. And honestly, it doesn't make sense. So, okay, if somebody buys a pair of Archipelagos from me for $15 on whatnot, let's say they buy two pairs, they paid $4 shipping, $2 tax. They just paid $22 a pair for two pairs of Archipelago. They're new, right? And it could be a good style. Maybe on eBay they're selling for 40 to 50. What that does, this is so weird, is it artificially raises the resale value of Archipelago because people have a $22 buy cost. And
so they
that
have
is
to
they
list
have
it
to.
for
They have to list
price.
it for higher. That happened when I sold Cariumas. The thing is, that's never happened before. Usually, where the shoes go is TJ Maxx or Ross. They disappear. They don't go online. People at TJ Maxx and Ross, they're paying $25, $30 a pair. They don't resell them unless they're used and you find them at the thrift store, right?
Mhm.
So I wholesaled those Archipelago shoes to that guy for $9 free shipping. He has a huge advantage because he paid $9 free shipping. He paid $9 landed for the shoes. He already got the shoes $13 cheaper than everybody on whatnot. Somebody asked, what generation shops on whatnot? It's this is gonna sound so weird. The exact same people as eBay, identical demographic. eBay has a ton of 18 to 24 male and has a lot of 30 to 55-year-old women. That's like a big chunk. And then also older people, like I say older, I can say that because I'm 40 now. 40 and over, I consider older because that the older demographic and they shop on eBay and it's good because they have all the money. So like you want the over 40 customer because they can afford to buy something cool or unique, but you can go on the whatnot to find out what shoes are being liquidated. You can contact the seller, get it directly. And the best wholesalers will not compete with you on the same platform. And that's
Yeah, it's
one
interesting.
interesting thing. Go ahead.
Yeah, I had never thought about it that way as another way to source inventory. Is contacting some of these wholesalers to get it that way. Because I mean that's a hurdle when you're very niche specific.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, it becomes how much time. It becomes a situation where how much time do you spend on the road searching for items? You know, and then obviously with shoes you got to clean them, so it becomes a time suck there. So one of my hurdles is obviously I have routes and all those other kind of things to where I can be more efficient with my time, but because I'm very item specific and I'm very specific on the items that I would pick up and put in my store, that limits the amount of inventory I would purchase based on what's out there. I might sometimes I go in the store and don't buy anything
Yep.
because I can't find anything that meets either the price point or the condition or the brand, that I'm looking for. So that obviously is going to extend my day out there on the grind, out there driving around sourcing. So I'm in a position where I'm looking for ways to, be more efficient with the amount of time I spend in transportation driving around. So if I can, supplement a portion of that with items that come to me and still go out there and source, that would, compress the amount of time that I spend doing this, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's one of the things I was talking about earlier, which is just reducing variation, is how long your drive time is. And that's the name of the game. That's why, like, as you grow, eventually you just stay at home, right? And other people go out and pay the transportation cost.
Yeah.
Um, Melanie says she would have thought younger people shop on whatnot unless they are a reseller. That is the case for eBay too. eBay has a massive 18 to 24-year-old audience buying sports cards, collectibles, toys, vintage. And then they have the older generation doing that. But I think that whatnot will take all of the Poshmark lonely people, which I think they're also over 40 or they're at least 35 years old. So it looks like everyone in here is talking about the biggest hurdle as being the time searching for goods. I agree. I just think it just comes from lack of time. I'm sorry. It comes from two parts, not having enough time to begin with, and then being too wide. That's if you're looking for one specific thing, like I'll give you an example from Katie Co on whatnot. She used to, people don't know her backstory really. She used to only sell free people on Poshmark, only one brand, right? She watched my YouTube videos and she was like 12 years old. And she was like, okay, I don't want to do what this guy's saying. I'm just going to sell good brands. I don't want to sell common mall brands. I don't want to do that because I want to be better at this than this guy. So I'm just going to sell what's good. So she researched free people returns, free people um, at the thrift store. So all she did was thrifted only one brand. She went to the whole store, no free people. Okay, next store. And then her Poshmark was doing really well. And if I got the report a couple months ago that like 15% of all clothing sold on Poshmark is free people. Like a huge chunk of it is just one brand. So her focusing on one brand, she was able to find it in bulk as like a 16-year-old, right? But most people here are looking for anything they can get a deal on, and that's too wide. If you wanted to just resell one brand, you can find it. So Devin put in the chat. Go ahead, Vince, before I go to Devin's comment.
I was thinking about if something like that would work on Whatnot, like for shoes, like for a brand like maybe Doc Martens or something. Like I'm only doing Doc Martens on Whatnot, and maybe it can get people in the stream
Yeah,
like that.
that would work. There are a few people on Whatnot that only sell one brand, and they're just known as the plug. If you were Doc Martin plug on Whatnot, Doc Martin plug on Instagram, then you wouldn't need eBay. Good morning. Yeah, I interviewed Katie, and she only sold one brand. And of course, it's a lot easier to find stuff when you only sell one brand. With limited time, that's what you would do. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Say hi. Good morning, everybody. Yeah, it's really, really important. So JM says, what happens when that brand tanks? This is such a good question. You just move to another popular brand. It's easier the second time. Once you find something, you can go get the brand again.
That's a funny comment though, because Doc Martin has been around for like how long?
Hundreds, like
Yeah, like
no, like all the original founders are dead. That's how long.
yeah,
If you are reselling brands where the owner is no longer here and the brand is still going, you're probably okay.
yeah. I mean, I guess the only way it would tank is like if the market gets super flooded, but that I would say that with shoes, that could happen like with one particular style, but not like if you have a variation of styles within a brand.
Yeah. Yeah, like Vince, I got a pair of Stan Smiths with the green back. Used to super be on trend, but that's like so 2017. No longer on trend. But you're still gonna resell for $40 if you find it with a thrift for under 10.
Yeah,
They're not gonna resell for $90 because they're not popular right now, but somebody still thinks they look good.
right.
JM says free people resell isn't great. That's not true. There are people on eBay that have $100 ASP with free people. 98% of free people is not good resale. If you were the free people plug, you better not have the garbage I can buy at Macy's for 19.99. Then you're not the free people plug. You're just a person that can go to the department store and get that stuff. The free people plug and seeks out all the unique pieces that are worth it. I'm not gonna like if somebody is selling $20 free people average stuff, I'm not gonna buy from them. It is flooded. Everything is flooded. Doc Martin is flooded. A lot of
Yeah,
Doc Martens don't resell for a lot.
and that's true for every brand. Well, I mean, there's very few brands where you can just see the brand and it doesn't matter what it is and people will buy it.
Yep. I have a perfect example of this. So there's an Instagram post, and this guy said, and this is right on trend with what Ben said. I'm not a hype beast anymore. I'm not gonna wear Nikes and Travis Scott's. I'm not a hype beast anymore. Now I'm gonna wear New Balance and Asics, right? And people in the chat were like, "Who's gonna tell this guy he's still a hype beast?" That is on trend. That is exactly what they're doing now. But like that, you're not you're graduating from the hype. That hype is dead. You're on to the new hype. But it's not like Travis Scott's don't sell. They just sell for less. When things go off trend, they don't go away. They just sell for less money.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there's always
maybe
somebody that
maybe
still wanted it.